Many people often point to this scripture as their excuse to continue the sin of eating unclean meat. They say, well, Jesus said, it's not what goes into the mouth, it's what comes out of the heart. That's what defiles a man. But what was the context of the scriptures when Jesus said that? Let's go back to the beginning of Matthew 15. The Pharisees came to Jesus for the billionth time, trying to trip him up again. And they picked another stupid point to do it. They said, why don't your disciples wash their hands before they eat? And right away, Jesus goes straight for the clincher. Jesus says, why do you transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? You see, Jesus recognized this conversation had absolutely nothing to do with food. Honestly, this conversation really had nothing to even do with hygiene. You see, there was another tradition, a ridiculous tradition that the Pharisees had forced upon the people. And that was a particular way to wash their hands. And again, this had nothing to do with hygiene. This had to do with a particular way of trying to remove ceremonial uncleanliness from their person. It was another tradition to try and earn God's favor. And Jesus recognized that, which is why he went straight for, you guys are putting the commandment of men above the commandment of God. And he brought up the example of how the Pharisees would manipulate people to dedicate their inheritance to the temple instead of dedicating it to their parents to take care of them in their old age. And so the Pharisees had set aside the commandment of God so that they could keep their tradition. And this has happened hundreds of times throughout their history. And so Jesus said, in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines and commandments of men. So here Jesus is not saying that we can eat whatever we want to. The teaching of Jesus never went against the Old Testament scriptures because he's the one who inspired them. He's the one who gave Noah the distinction between clean and unclean. He's the one who specifically listed the unclean and clean animals in Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14. And he's the same God who upheld them throughout his messianic ministry on earth. Now, I'm not here to be your judge, and I'm not here to condemn you. That's not my job. That's God's job. But I will say that Christians everywhere need to stop using the words of Jesus to justify their sin.